Here's how I've been monitoring my Docker containers using Prometheus. By the end of this video, you'll know how to set up your own Prometheus server, how to configure it to use its exporters, and then have a well-designed dashboard on Grafana to look like this using Container Exporter and cAdvisor. Okay, in this video, I'm going to get you through a demo of how to deploy Prometheus along with its exporters and then have a lovely, beautiful dashboard on Grafana. For today's project and video, we are using two projects, cAdvisor and CXP. And kind of the entire reason I'm recording this video is to showcase the new release of CXP that was released yesterday and a new one today. So without further ado, let's get into it. CXP is a Docker container exporter for Prometheus, which lets you monitor Docker containers using Prometheus metrics. And how it is different from cAdvisor, something you might already know about, is that, well, cAdvisor has its use cases. You can use it as daemon says on, let's say, Kubernetes. But on Docker, for small scale servers or small scale applications or resources very limited, and you can't afford the cAdvisor to, let's say, resource consumption, you would use something like CXP. Another main reason is that you won't have alerting on the containers that are not running anymore when you're using cAdvisor or Node Exporter. So the actual advantage of CXP is that you get to have the metric regarding the container status that stores whether the container is up or down or it's restarting unhealthy or whatever, so you can set alerts and get notified when such thing happens. So let's get to the project and we'll talk about it in action later on. So here's the documentation page. You have the sample metrics, Prometheus rules, and documentation. You can get there through yourself. And if you check out the actual repository on GitHub and go through the instructions explained here, you'll get it sweet and easy. Like, no need to even watch this video. This is just to get this demo to showcase how cAdvisor and CXP are different and where, or let's say which to use where or where to use which. So to get started, we have to clone this repository. I have already done that. Let's see if that's true. That is not. That happens. Well, and another thing is that I'm using VirtualBox and a VM that has 1 GB of RAM and 1 core of CPU for this demo today. Our Prometheus and cAdvisor and CXP are going to be deployed on this machine. And that's it. I've SSH'd into this machine and now ready to do the stuff. So we do git clone and the address that we just copied, and we wait for container exporter to get cloned, and then we can check out to it. So we check out to the container exporter. You see that there are a series of files here. Today, there are different ways to deploy a container exporter, of course. You have the GitHub Actions option, but having a VM on a local network, so we can't really connect it to GitHub Actions. All you have to do is just fork the repository and allow the steps I told you here. And then we have Docker, but if you have concerns on mapping your Docker socket to the container, we can use the another option, which is actually Python. So today for this demo, I'm using container, let's say Docker, and here you have two Docker compose files. And as you can see here, it's container exporter.yml and local. Local is for local build. This one uses the latest image pushed to Docker Hub, and we're going to see what is going on here. So if you don't provide any other image, whether you have the version or whatever, you here will get the latest image possible and present, which is updated by every new release. So what you have is that you have to map and bind your Docker socket to your actual one from the container. And as I said before, if this raises problems for you, you can use Python itself. Then we expose port 8000, which is the default port for container exporter. And then we have the real swap policy. However, we should have another thing here as network, which we are going to use later on to interact with Prometheus. And then we have to define it here. I try to do it fast. So it's actually an external network, Docker network, and I'll show you what it is right now. Docker network ls. So we have a monitoring, let's say, network of driver bridge, that is the scope of local. And what we have in other project is, if you go to Docker monitoring, I'll let you know about the links and all these resources. You don't have to do anything manually. Even the things we have in Docker monitoring, we'll push it to a Docker, GitHub repository. So we have another, let's say, Docker compose file which deploys cAdvisor and Prometheus. And as you can see here, we have networks for each of them set to monitoring. Here, external is true. So I have to create the network first. And let's just look at it as we are here. cAdvisor itself doesn't recommend you, as far as I know, to deploy their application on Docker, because you are pointing it to rootfs and all this stuff, and the same concerns with CXP. But here, as the volumes, you have a Prometheus config file and a container rules, which is Prometheus CXP rules. And we can actually, let's deploy container exporter first. So Docker compose -f container exporter. Let's say, yeah. Oh my God. Okay, it's running. Let's validate that. Yeah, it's healthy. Okay, so let's get back to Docker monitoring. And here we should deploy Docker compose -f Prometheus cAdvisor.yml -d. Okay, so after it's deployed, let's look at, have a very quick glance at the Prometheus. Oh my God, Prometheus configuration itself. It has a script interval of 3 seconds. That's not really common. It's usually 15 seconds. But for the sake of demo, again, we have the rule files here, and then we have two exporter cAdvisor and container exporter, for which we can use their container name as the network because they are on the same network, Docker network list. So this is the whole configuration, and here's the rule files which set some critical disk read throughput, or about CPU usage, or the container is down, or whatever that there is. And that is it. So we validate everything is running, and they are. I want to, let's say, spin up some Docker containers, let's say 20. What is this? Okay, sorry. What? Oh, spin up other stuff. Okay. So what this script does is that it creates some Alpine image of Docker containers with 60 seconds of sleep, and we here give them a count. So if you get Docker PS, we have these many containers. And now it's the golden time to let you know how cAdvisor and CXP are different. So if you head back to Prometheus here, I do a quick refresh. This is the IP of my VM, and 1990 is the part that Prometheus exposes. If we get up here, we can see the list of our exporters, and we have one for all of them. So they are up and running and operating. Let's say, metric you have for CXP is CXP CPU percentage. So here, all of these are 0 because they are just sleep. But if I do this, then you see that cAdvisor has taken 17% of the CPU, but container exporter has taken 0.6. So what's going on here is that it's a very huge difference, but it's not about the container exporter being fast. It's about how it's designed for basic needs and special needs, let's say. So here we have a lot of metrics we're going to see in a matter of moments on Grafana. We have a lot of metrics for disk, I/O, and all of them have their sub metrics. So it's a lot to do there. You can disable metrics to lower down the system consumption, but still it's not comparable, but it's not what we wrote CXP for. What we wrote CXP for is this metric, CXP container status. So what happens here, it just tells you whether a container is up or down or not running by any uh, reason. So one is means it's running, and if I now just I don't know, I could stop one of these, uh, let's say determined bands, which is a cool name actually. If we stop this, I don't think we have it, but let's just do it. See if it's stopped properly. Okay. So here we can see determined bands set to 0. And if we do that on cAdvisor, it doesn't give us the metric, and that's because of the Prometheus actual rule. Because when a container is out of the radar, let's say, its metrics should be cleared out too. So we keep this data so that you can set alerts whether they're down or not, and that's why we use CXP so far by this release. And this is for Prometheus and why we use CXP over cAdvisor sometimes. And let's use the Grafana. So I have Grafana at the host machine. PS, then we have Grafana here. And what I want to do next is show you how to easily export these dashboards. So I have this project cloned on my other machine too, so I have to okay. You can use this script here on scripts dashboardgen.sh, and if I enter scripts, oh, I'm running on scripts. Okay, so if I use dashboards gen and the ID of your Prometheus data source. So how can you get that? If you go to Grafana here on login, you go to data sources. If you don't have a Prometheus source already, you can say add new connections and then search Prometheus. And then from here, you can add a new one. And well, it's fairly easy. You just add a new data source and fill in the let's say address for that, and everything is nice and clear, but we already have it. So if I click on any of this on Prometheus, it gives me an ID here on top at the URL after edit. So I take this and feed it into the first argument of dashboard gen, and it just replaces everything here for me. Now I have to get these from dashboards and go to dashboards, then import and paste it here and then load it, and it gives me container services. If I import it, then I have the data for all the things. If I give last 5 minutes, okay, here it is. So you see that it's 0. Restart. Oh, sorry. I don't think I can restart it. Restart because that has dash rm. But I can run dash name determined as outline and entry point 60 seconds. What happened here? Oh, sorry. I had to put it on dash D. Right. Okay. Okay, I can restart. So basically, let's restart determined bands. What happened? Okay. And now you see it's up and running here again. So it's getting this status. And you can do the same for other dashboards. I think this video is already pretty long. So yeah, that's it for today's video. We showcase the Grafana Prometheus rules, and you can use the alerts here on alerts on Prometheus. You see that all of these are healthy and none of them are getting triggered. If we do something that makes these things go otherwise, if a container goes down, then this condition is changed and everything is gone with it. Thank you for watching and have fun. Peace.